Struggle is one of the most misunderstood parts of the human experience. When things become difficult, when progress feels slow, or when failure seems to repeat itself, it is easy to assume that something has gone wrong. Many people quietly begin to question their own abilities, their worth, or even their direction in life. They interpret struggle as a sign that they are not capable enough, not talented enough, or simply not meant for success. But this interpretation is not only inaccurate, it is limiting. Struggle is not evidence of failure. It is evidence that you are in the process of growth. Growth by its very nature is uncomfortable. It demands change, and change challenges the familiar. Human beings are naturally drawn to comfort because it feels safe and predictable. When you step outside of that comfort zone, you enter a space where outcomes are uncertain. That uncertainty can feel unsettling, even frightening. Yet it is precisely in that space where growth begins. If everything feels easy, it usually means you are operating within what you already know and what you can already do. There is no expansion in that space, only repetition. Consider how learning works. When you try to master a new skill, whether it is academic, physical, or emotional, the initial stages are often frustrating. Mistakes happen frequently. Progress feels slow. There are moments when giving up seems easier than continuing, but these moments are not signs of incapability. They are signs that your mind and abilities are stretching. Each mistake is a form of feedback. Each difficulty is an invitation to adapt. Without these challenges, improvement would not occur. The same principle applies to personal development. Becoming more patient, more confident, or more resilient does not happen in calm and easy situations. These qualities are forged in moments of stress, uncertainty, and adversity. Patience is learned when things do not go your way. Confidence is built when you face situations that intimidate you and move forward anyway. Resilience is developed when you encounter setbacks and choose to continue despite them. Without struggle, these qualities would remain undeveloped, existing only as ideas rather than lived strengths. It is also important to understand that struggle often signals that you are moving in the right direction. When you aim for something meaningful, something that truly matters to you, it will challenge you. Goals that are significant require effort because they demand a version of you that does not yet fully exist. The process of reaching those goals is, in essence, the process of becoming that person. This transformation cannot happen without friction. The discomfort you feel is not an obstacle to your growth. It is a necessary part of it. However, the way you interpret struggle makes a profound difference. If you view it as a sign of failure, it can lead to discouragement and self-doubt. You may begin to withdraw effort, avoid challenges, or settle for less than you are capable of achieving. On the other hand, if you see struggle as a natural and valuable part of growth, your perspective shifts. Instead of resisting difficulty, you become more willing to engage with it. Instead of fearing mistakes, you begin to learn from them. This shift in mindset transforms struggle from something negative into something purposeful. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself during difficult times is not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is this teaching me?" The first question often leads to frustration and a sense of helplessness. It focuses on the problem without offering a path forward. The second question, however, invites reflection and growth. It encourages you to look for lessons, to extract value from the experience, and to use that knowledge to improve. Every struggle carries a lesson, even if it is not immediately clear. Sometimes the lesson is about persistence, learning to keep going even when progress is slow. Sometimes it is about adaptability, realizing that a different approach is needed. At other times, it may be about self-awareness, understanding your strengths, your limits, and your areas for improvement. These lessons accumulate over time, shaping your character and preparing you for future challenges. Resilience is not about never feeling overwhelmed or discouraged. It is about continuing despite those feelings. It is about acknowledging the difficulty of the situation while still choosing to move forward. This ability becomes one of the most valuable assets you can develop, as it allows you to navigate not only current struggles, but also future uncertainties. Another important aspect of struggle is that it often reveals what truly matters to you. When something is easy, your commitment is rarely tested. But when challenges arise, you are forced to decide whether the goal is worth the effort. This process can bring clarity. It helps you distinguish between what is merely convenient and what is genuinely meaningful. In this way, struggle can serve as a filter, guiding you toward pursuits that align more deeply with your values and aspirations. It is also essential to be patient with yourself during periods of struggle. Growth is not a linear process. There will be moments of progress followed by setbacks. There will be times when improvement feels rapid and times when it feels almost non-existent. This variability is a natural part of development. Expecting constant upward progress can lead to unnecessary frustration. Instead, it is more helpful to focus on consistency, continuing to show up and put in effort, even when results are not immediately visible. Comparing your journey to others can also make struggle feel heavier than it needs to be. Everyone's path is different, shaped by unique experiences, circumstances, and timelines. What appears as ease or success in someone else's life may be the result of struggles you cannot see. Focusing on your own progress rather than measuring it against others allows you to appreciate your growth more fully and reduces unnecessary self-doubt. Support is another important factor in navigating struggle. While growth is a personal process, it does not have to be a solitary one. Sharing your challenges with others, seeking advice, or simply having someone who listens can make a significant difference. It reminds you that struggle is a universal experience, not a personal flaw. Everyone faces difficulties at different points in their lives, even if they do not always show it. At the same time, it is important to balance perseverance with self-care. Pushing yourself is essential for growth, but so is rest. Just as muscles need time to recover after being stressed, your mind and emotions also need time to recharge. Ignoring this need can lead to burnout, which ultimately hinders progress. Taking breaks, reflecting, and allowing yourself moments of ease are not signs of weakness. They are part of a sustainable approach to growth. Over time, the struggles you face begin to shape your identity in meaningful ways. They influence how you think, how you respond to challenges, and how you view yourself. What once felt overwhelming can become manageable. What once seemed impossible can become achievable. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it is the result of consistent effort and a willingness to engage with difficulty rather than avoid it. Looking back, many people realize that their most challenging experiences were also their most formative. The moments that tested them the most were the ones that taught them the most. These experiences often provide a sense of perspective, helping them appreciate their progress and recognize their strength. While struggle may not feel valuable in the moment, its impact becomes clearer over time. Ultimately, struggle is not the end of your story. It is a chapter, an important one, that contributes to the larger narrative of who you are becoming. It is a process that shapes your abilities, strengthens your character, and prepares you for future opportunities. Rather than seeing it as something to be avoided or feared, it can be embraced as a necessary part of growth. When you encounter difficulty, remember that it does not define your limitations. It reveals your potential. It shows you where you can improve, where you can adapt, and where you can grow. It challenges you to become more than you currently are. This process may be uncomfortable, but it is also meaningful. By shifting your perspective, by asking what each challenge can teach you, and by continuing to move forward despite setbacks, you transform struggle into a powerful force for development. It becomes not a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that something important is happening. You are evolving. You are expanding your capabilities. You are becoming stronger, more resilient, and more prepared for what lies ahead. In this way, struggle is not something that holds you back. It is something that moves you forward, even when it does not feel like it. It is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path that leads to it. And as you continue on that path, each challenge you face becomes a building block, shaping the person you are becoming and bringing you closer to the life you are working toward. There are moments in life when everything feels heavier than it should. Thoughts become louder, worries seem endless, and even the simplest tasks can feel exhausting. In those moments, one feeling often rises above the rest, the feeling of being alone. It can feel as if no one truly understands what you are going through, as if your struggles are somehow different, deeper, or more difficult to explain than anyone else's. You may look around and see people smiling, laughing, and moving forward with their lives, and it creates a quiet question in your mind. Why does it seem so easy for everyone else and so hard for me? This sense of isolation can be one of the most difficult parts of struggling. It doesn't just come from being physically alone. It often comes from feeling emotionally disconnected. You may be surrounded by people, yet still feel unseen. You may have conversations, yet feel like you are hiding what truly matters. Over time, this can create the belief that your experiences are somehow separate from everyone else's, that your pain is something you have to carry on your own. But the truth is far different from what that feeling suggests. Struggle is a universal part of being human. Every person, no matter how confident or composed they appear on the outside, faces challenges on the inside. Some people are simply better at hiding it, or they have learned to carry it quietly. The smiles you see do not tell the full story. Behind many of them are worries, doubts, fears, and battles that are never spoken out loud. It is easy to assume that others have everything figured out, especially in a world where people often share only their best moments. You see achievements, happy experiences, and polished versions of life, and it creates a distorted picture of reality. What you do not see are the struggles behind those moments, the late nights, the failures, the insecurities, and the moments of uncertainty. When you compare your internal struggles to someone else's external presentation, it can make you feel even more alone. But that comparison is incomplete and unfair, because it is based on only a small part of the truth. Understanding that others struggle too does not make your pain disappear, but it can change how you relate to it. Instead of seeing your experience as something isolating, you can begin to see it as something shared. This shift is important because it reminds you that you are not separate from others in your struggle. You are connected to them through it. The emotions you feel, whether it is fear, sadness, frustration, or confusion, are part of the human experience. They do not make you weak or different in a negative way. They make you human. Even so, knowing this intellectually is not always enough to remove the feeling of isolation. Emotions do not always respond immediately to logic. That is why connection becomes so important. Reaching out to someone, even in a small way, can begin to bridge the gap between feeling alone and realizing that you are not. This does not mean you have to share everything at once or explain your entire situation perfectly. Sometimes, simply expressing that you are having a difficult time is enough to start that connection. Reaching out can feel difficult, especially if you are used to handling things on your own. There may be a fear of being misunderstood, judged, or dismissed. You might worry about being a burden to others or feel unsure about how to put your thoughts into words. These concerns are natural, but they often become barriers that keep you isolated. The truth is, many people are more willing to listen and support than you might expect. Often, they have faced their own struggles and understand more than they show. Connection does not always have to come from deep conversations either. It can be found in small, everyday interactions. Spending time with someone, even without discussing your struggles in detail, can provide a sense of comfort. It reminds you that you are part of something larger than your current difficulties. Even writing your thoughts down, as simple as it may seem, can create a sense of release. It allows you to process what you are feeling instead of keeping it all inside. There is also strength in acknowledging that you need support. Many people grow up believing that strength means handling everything independently without asking for help. This belief can make it difficult to reach out, even when you need it the most. But true strength is not about carrying everything alone. It is about recognizing your limits and allowing others to support you when necessary. It takes courage to be honest about what you are feeling and to let someone else see that side of you. When you open up even a little, you create the opportunity for understanding. You give others a chance to respond, to share their own experiences, and to remind you that you are not alone. Sometimes you may find that the person you reach out to has felt something similar. Other times, they may not fully understand, but they can still offer empathy and presence. Both of these responses can be valuable because they reduce the sense of isolation. It is also important to recognize that connection looks different for everyone. Some people find comfort in talking openly with friends or family. Others may prefer writing, creative expression, or seeking guidance from a mentor or counselor. There is no single right way to connect. What matters is finding an approach that feels safe and meaningful for you. The goal is not to force yourself into a specific method, but to create space where you are not carrying everything alone. At times, the feeling of isolation can return, even after you have reached out. This does not mean that your efforts were ineffective. Emotions can fluctuate, and it is normal to have moments where you feel disconnected again. What matters is continuing to remind yourself of the truth, that your experience is not unique in a negative way, and that there are people who care and understand, even if it does not always feel that way. Over time, as you allow yourself to connect with others, you may begin to notice a shift. The weight of your struggles may not disappear completely, but it can feel more manageable. Sharing your experiences can provide new perspectives, helping you see things in a different light. It can also strengthen your relationships, creating a deeper sense of trust and understanding between you and others. In addition to receiving support, there is also value in offering it. When you listen to others and show empathy, you contribute to the same sense of connection that you seek. This exchange creates a cycle where support flows in both directions. It reinforces the idea that no one has to go through life alone, and that everyone benefits from understanding and compassion. It is also helpful to be patient with yourself as you navigate these feelings. Opening up and building connections takes time, especially if you are not used to it. There may be moments where it feels uncomfortable or uncertain, but that does not mean it is the wrong step. Growth often involves stepping into unfamiliar territory, and this is no exception. Each small effort you make toward connection is a step away from isolation. The feeling of being alone can be convincing, but it is not always accurate. It is shaped by emotions, perceptions, and sometimes by past experiences. While those feelings are real and valid, they do not define the full reality of your situation. There are people who care about you, people who are willing to listen, and people who have faced similar challenges. Even if you have not found them yet, it does not mean they do not exist. As you move forward, it can be helpful to remind yourself of this truth, especially during difficult moments. You are not the only one who has felt this way. You are not the only one facing challenges. Your experience is part of a shared human journey, one that includes both struggle and connection. By reaching out, by allowing yourself to be seen, and by accepting support, you begin to break the illusion of isolation. In the end, you do not have to carry everything on your own. You are allowed to seek help, to share your thoughts, and to lean on others when needed. This does not make you weak, it makes you human. And in that humanity, there is connection, understanding, and the reassurance that you are never truly alone, even when it feels like you are.